Welcome to Motorcycle Ways. Did you know it's recommended to flush the brake fluid in your motorcycle every 2 years, regardless of mileage? So today I'm going to flush the front brakes of my Honda CB500X. And this is the same procedure you'd follow if you were to flush the brakes on your bike. So let's get started. Now we're going to start here by removing the cover of our front brake fluid reservoir. So I'm just going to give it a quick wipe with a damp cloth first. Take any dust and dirt from around it, stop it going in to your fluid. It's important that you don't get dirt and dust into your brake fluid. And if you're wondering what type of brake fluid you use for this, it'll be written on the top of your cover here. You can see this is .4. So just check the top of the cover on the reservoir and it will surely tell you what fluid you should be using. Now I'm just going to cover up the paintwork with some old rags here and that, because brake fluid is not nice stuff to be working with, and if it gets on the paint it can destroy the paint and remove some of it, or certainly mark it anyway. So try and cover up your paintwork as best you can and keep your brake fluid from getting on the different components. Now to remove these is 2 Phillips screws here. A lot of people do have difficulty with these if you haven't got the right screwdriver to fit correctly, and the reason for that is you mightn't have the right screwdriver. If a lot of the Japanese bikes use JIS screws, Japanese Industrial Standard, I believe it stands for, and you'll know if they're JIS screws, but you will see a dot on the top of the screw. It's like a punch hole on the top of the screw. These don't have them actually, so they're not JIS, but a lot of Japanese bikes will have them, and there's a special Starhead screwdriver, JIS screwdriver, that fits snugly into the screw. So when you fit your screw onto your screwdriver, you shouldn't have any play in it. It should be a tight fit. If you have a bit of play, then if these screws are anyway corroded, then it can be hard to remove them, and people have difficulty removing them. So just be careful and watch out for that you have your right screwdriver that fits correctly. So now we'll just remove the cap, and inside there's another cover, white cover, and under that there should be a black diaphragm. So gently prise it up if you have to, and there is your black diaphragm. So I'll just give you a closer look at the fluid. You can see there, it is brown in colour. So the darker your fluid gets, the more it is in need of changing. When it gets dark and cloudy, sort of a browny colour, then it definitely needs changing, because it gets contaminated with moisture over time. And that's the reason. The moisture, actually, believe it or not, can be drawn in through the brake pipes, the pores in the brake pipes. And it can be even drawn in here through the cap over time. And the moisture gets into the fluid, then when your brakes heat up, the fluid heats up and the water boils and it gets to boiling point. And then you get a soft, spongy brake lever and brake pedal and that. So that's why they recommend every 2 years to change them for safety. So what I'm going to do is siphon out this fluid that's in here first. Instead of flushing it down through the system and out through the bleed nipple, I'm going to siphon out what's in the reservoir, because you don't want to be putting on that dirty fluid down through the system. There's no need. So in order to siphon it out, I've got a syringe here. It should hopefully remove it for me. So now we can see there that that has taken the majority of the fluid out of the reservoir there. So now I've got some brand new Manol .4 brake fluid here, freshly bought. So that's what you want to be using. You don't want to be using old fluid you have in the shed which that's left there lying for a while, especially if it's open, because then moisture will get into the container the same as it will into your brake system. So then it's no good. So this one is unopened and it's just bought today. So the next step is to fill up the reservoir with new fluid, and then we'll bleed it out to the bleed nipple below. So you can see how clear that fluid is compared to the old fluid that came out of it. It's clear in colour. So that's the difference. So now our next step is to bleed the calipers, and I'm going to keep the reservoir topped up fully as I go along and keep bleeding them until I flush out the old fluid and the new fluid comes through and we get all the air out of the system. So this bike has got twin discs on the front, twin brakes, so 2 calipers. So we're going to start with the one on the left hand side. You should start with the one furthest away from your master cylinder. So we're going to start over here with this caliper on the left hand side. Now, so another tool that I have here is an 8mm spanner. That's to fit the bleed nipple, to open and close the bleed nipple. And a bottle with a 3/16 hose on it. It's a clear hose, 3/16 in size, so that fits over your bleed nipple nice and tight. And I put a hole in the top of the bottle, so I have the hose fed down through it to stay in place, and some clean fluid in the bottle, some clean brake fluid, and a couple of rags to clean up any spillage. So what we're going to do is flush down the new fluid and keep bleeding it until the old fluid is flushed out and the new fluid comes through and we get the air out of it. So I'll start by removing the dust cap off the bleed nipple, and then we'll place the 8mm spanner on it. Use the ring side of the spanner rather than the open side, and place it on in a position where you have room to swing it around there to open and close it without having to take off the spanner, because the hose will be going on here next on. It fits tightly into the bleed nipple there. So now what I'll be doing is pumping the brake lever, and when I have it held pressed, I'll open this and let the fluid out and close this, and then release the brake lever again to get the new fluid through and push out the old fluid. So let's see how that goes. So squeeze the brake lever, open the bleed nipple, close it, and release the brake lever. Another idea here, if you're tube is not staying straight and it needs to be tightened up. You can put a little cable tie on the end of it to tighten it up, stop air being sucked in at the end of the pipe there. Just a small cable tie like that to hold it in place and stop air going into it. So that might be a help. And just keep in mind, keep your level of the reservoir topped up. You don't want it going down low because it'll be sucking in air then, and you could be there all day bleeding. So just keep that in mind. Keep an eye on your reservoir that doesn't go down too low while you're bleeding. So now that's the left side done. We'll do the same procedure over on the other caliper. Our spanner in position again. And our hose pipe. And again we'll put on a cable tie on the end of them, just stopping the air seeping through. And if you're not confident working with brakes are, as you know, vitally important. So anything goes wrong, it can be fatal. So if you're not confident doing a job with brakes, then get your mechanic or go to the dealer and have the job done, because it is something you need to have right on the bike. So now I'll pump the lever again. Holding the lever, I'll open the bleed nipple and close and release the lever. So now that's the system bled. We carefully take off our hose again. Just remove it nice and gently and hold it up the way, so let the fluid down into the bottle. And I'll be disposing of that fluid carefully. And just one check to see that the nipple is tightened up again, and give it a clean roundabout. Take any fluid that has spilt away from it and just put on the dust cap again. And we'll check our brake lever. So we'll just top up our fluid there a small bit. You don't want to overfill it, but once it's up there to the top of the window, that's high enough. And just put back on the cover again, black diaphragm, and all three covers are there together. Make sure that sits on the right way. And 2 screws. Just snip them up firmly. Just be careful not to over tighten them, because you don't want to crack the cover. And just give it a wipe clean around about then with a damp cloth. Take any brake fluid that might have fallen down there spilt. So I debated for a while whether I was going to change the fluid or not, flush it out, and because they do recommend every 2 years you should do it, and my bike is 3 years old now, so it's time to do it. But if you're thinking about doing it, or wondering whether you should or not, let me show you something here first. There we have 2 samples on the bench. The one on the right is the fluid that I drained out with the syringe that came out of the reservoir, and the one on the left is clean brake fluid. So you can clearly see the difference there in the colour between the two. The one on the right is much browner, much darker in colour, so that's a sign that it is contaminated with moisture. So you don't want that in your brakes on the motorcycle, because when they heat up, that fluid heats up, and the water then in the fluid starts to boil, and that's what gives you a spongy brake, and in very bad cases brake failure. So it's definitely worth doing. So that's out of my bike there now. That's 3 years old, my bike. So I know some people do let them go longer, 4, 5, 6 years, and they don't change the fluids, so you can imagine what it'll be like then. So it's nothing to do with mileage really, it's to do with time. Moisture seeps into the fluid over time, and that's what causes the problem. So that's a front brake flush done on the Honda CB 500X. I will be doing the rear brakes soon on another video, so watch out for that one. And I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.